Hi everybody, welcome back to the PTC podcast here today with Joff Bunt. Joff's an old friend of ours, old guy of the industry like some of us here. Saw one of his posts recently and just thought let's have a chat about it. You're talking about you moved to Dubai 10 years ago, you worked commercial gym, and I thought it'd be nice just to have a little shoot the shit chat about how things have changed and how you find your career's changed. So how are you doing? Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. I'm not too sure about the old at the start, especially with my training at the moment. Like, I just feel like, to be fair, the last month or so, or last couple of months, has been really good, like training wise. But then, just feel like I'm getting old, having to warm up really well and just constantly getting injured. But yeah, that's on another tangent. But yeah, all good. Like I said, been in Dubai. Well, the UAE. I started in Abu Dhabi. Been here 12 years now, or coming up to 12 years. And yeah, like you said, that post that you saw, it was just something I was thinking about whilst I was training. I've got my own small business, Movement Wins, and I have a couple of really good coaches who work with me now. And it's really interesting because it's this whole thing of, when it was just me and I was trying to grow my business, there was certain things that I did and things that I didn't have to worry about that has completely changed now. Like my job role, as much as I'm still on the gym floor and, doing what I love and PTing and coaching classes and helping people, there's a certain aspect of my job now which is more to do with trying to generate more business and more leads and help those guys grow theirs as well. So that post that I put was all about just maybe some of the things that are getting forgotten about. It's not a huge barrier to entry to get into the fitness space, and every self-help book that you read always comes up with follow your passions and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm not necessarily sure if that's true, but it's just some advice really.
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's people who started in the industry I fell into the industry because in school I didn't want to be a businessy person. I didn't want to go down that route. I didn't really think much more about just being sporty. Ended up in the fitness world right from the outset, where there's so many people who I think they look from the outside, from the corporate world, and they think, I'd love to be a PT, I'd love to do that. You guys have a cool job. They make the leap, they quit their corporate world, and then they jump into PT, and you have to do everything when you run your own business. Like, you've got to not just be a PT, but you've got to be the sales and marketing and the calling person and everything. But so you started out in Abu Dhabi. What were you doing out in Abu Dhabi?
So, before that, I'd finished my degree, and I'm from Newquay, a small town in the UK in the southwest of Cornwall, and I knew that I wanted to be a PT, and I went and did my separate personal trainer qualification, and I did start to try and generate a business there, and there was just nothing there. I got maybe one or two clients, but it wasn't a sure thing. So I knew I had to move somewhere. And through just a few contacts that I had, someone was working out in Abu Dhabi, and they just set me up with an interview with Fitness First. Didn't really know too much about it. That's 2012, 2013. So, did the interview online, got a job, and I'd never lived anywhere but Cornwall, so moved over. Yeah. Did all my training in Dubai, and then they shipped me down to Abu Dhabi, and I kind of thought, I didn't know if they were the same place or not. That's how kind of new it was to me. I was like, well, is Abu Dhabi Dubai, or is that different? So, that was an experience. And then I spent a year working with Fitness First, and it was a really valuable year. Very hard at times, but almost like the perfect stepping stone into the UAE at that time, in terms of, just learning what the country is all about, seeing it grow, seeing the type of people that you would be training. When you're working in a big commercial gym like that, there's endless leads coming in. They're signing up 10, 15 members a day. And as part of that package before, I'm sure it's very similar, they would have like a triple package. So as part of your membership, you get 3 sessions with a trainer. And, it works both ways. That's the trainer's chance to be able to kind of wow you and show you their skills to potentially sign you up for personal training, which is their, main business. And then the second part of it is for them, if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to get some, coaching in the beginning. So I spent a year there, and it was, like I said, it was a really valuable experience.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I worked in a commercial gym in Dublin a long time ago, but I wasn't doing PT. I was just doing gym floor instruction and program writing and all that kind of stuff, and that turned me away from being a PT. That's something I didn't really want to do, and this would have been 2004, 5, 6 maybe, and then fast forward a few years, went back to university, and then right like the day we finished our last lecture, The next day, I started a job in Virgin Active in Sunbury, just outside Twickenham, and that was dipping my toe into that sort of a commercial environment where you've got to walk the gym floor, you got to find it, you got to help this guy for half an hour, and then try and woo him, like you said. And pre-Instagram, where Instagram was just like one photo of a cliff that you're looking at, like it was nothing. Nobody really knew what it was. People were still banging photo albums of 40 photographs up on Facebook from their holiday, like back then. So you had no channel, basically. You had no really channel to market yourself, and nobody really knew what that kind of meant. And I didn't like it. I remember there was one day, this is an embarrassing story, but there was one day where we've been hanging out in the little staff room, and because it's easy in there, all the coaches are there between their sessions, and I was like, well, I need to go get some clients. So I went out of the room onto the gym floor, went left, down the stairs, into the reception area, looped around, went into the bathroom, and just stood there. And I was like, what am I doing? What have I just come here for? Because I hated the job so much. I was like, right, I'm going to go back, and this is not what I want to be doing. Like, that was after like 3 or 4 months of trying to build a client base. I just didn't know how. I just didn't have the toolkit. And they did some training stuff, but I had just been in uni doing a rehab degree, so I wanted to go down that route. So I was like, let me just try and build that. Let me just go to job interviews. Let me just hustle in that front. But that was an invaluable experience to know, like, that this is the commercial world.
And it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. You get some leads, but it's I don't know what it's like in Fitness First, because they're already internal. They're already in the gym. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can attract some people and you can get them to sign up to Fitness First as well from your own little marketing structure. But
well, the general consensus on that, and as well, is that people generally join, well, there's a few reasons that people would join that type of gym, and let's not get away from it. A lot of people would be budget, they're very friendly on the budget.
Yeah.
Amazing facilities. They've got the sauna, they've got the steam room, they're in amazing places where you can park. They've got that going for them. So then that type of person might not be the person that's going to want personal training, which is obviously an upsell on that. But one of the experiences that stuck out for me there, and what kind of like got me through it, sticking with it in the beginning, because in the beginning when you're new, like, you're not getting a lot of clients, and you're trying to survive, and there will be other trainers there, loads of different nationalities because of where we are. And I knew I was good at my job. I was like very fit and, training all the time and doing a lot of research and education and stuff. And there'll be other trainers in there, and we were going to staff meetings, and, on the agenda for the staff meeting would be, telling some of the other trainers to not wear their personal trainer uniform when they're eating McDonald's in the food court.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, or, if you're smoking outside, make sure you haven't got your uniform on.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like, we have to tell people that?
That's crazy. We, back then, it was a bit of a different one in Sunbury. Sunbury was a Virgin Active. Their mission is to be the best loved health club in the world. So they just want you to be really welcoming and have a great destination. But there was a guy, and like you kind of said, for me, I was the nerdy guy, in the sense where I was very fresh out of university, 3-year degree in sports science. Like, it was all just right at the top. I'm ready to help. But I wasn't the most, like, get out there, charismatic, I can solve all your problems. There was one guy from Birmingham, and he was probably fresh off his course, but he had the charisma, he had the chat, and he was a really nice guy. And it wasn't crazy, like, bullshit chat. It was just, he was the real friendly guy. He was so enthusiastic to help people. And the few months I was there, there was about maybe 10 or 15 trainers total. So every time one would leave, they'd give him their clients because they liked him the most. And then the next one would leave, they'd give him their clients. And when I left, I gave him my 3 or 4 clients as well. But it was really clear that you can't teach somebody that level of charisma, but you can teach them the knowledge. So he was in a much better place to build, and he had actually left the corporate world as well. To the best of my memory, he was going into PT. But with that charisma, with that personality, with that willing to help, with that desire to help people, he was going to be in a much better position to just keep going with his career. Whereas for me, and for a couple of the guys there, the quieter, more timid guys, you have to just walk straight up to someone on the gym floor and go, hey, either you're doing that wrong, can I help you? Or, hey, what are you training for? And then, like, pull out this conversation. That wasn't my jam at all.
Yeah, I've always kind of been probably closer to what you were as well. I've just always kind of been in that middle, like, pretty knowledgeable and passionate about what I'm doing, but not kind of out there to go and call someone out and correct them straight away. So like I've always kind of played the long game in that regard. And even I think about, what I've been doing now and where I'm at, like I'm not exactly where I want to be yet, but all of the contacts and stuff that I've made over the years, just from being kind of that level-headed person, like I haven't burnt any bridges anywhere I've been, that type of stuff. I think that goes a long way as well. I think sometimes if you're on the other side of it, and yes, you are getting a lot of business very quickly and you talk a good game, there's always a chance that you're going to maybe piss a few people off as well.
Yeah, I'll give this guy credit. He was just a lovely, lovely guy. It wasn't like he wasn't a car salesman.
Yeah.
He was just a real nice, genuine, like he's there to help, and he knew where his knowledge finished, and he'd always say, I don't really know, all that kind of genuine authentic. Okay, this guy's a real nice guy. So you left that job after a year. Did you move to Dubai after that?
Yeah, so I was I stayed in Abu Dhabi. I was enjoying Air Fitness first, and I was trying to move up. Just trying to progress to assistant fitness manager and stuff. But I was heavily into CrossFit at that time. I started doing CrossFit in 2010, like a couple of years before I moved over. So I was like in the commercial gym slamming bars down, knocking the legs. Like I was taking my t-shirt off. I was a nuisance.
In fitness first?
In a fitness first, yeah, getting told off. So I was in love with CrossFit, and then it was the second year of the Dubai fitness competition, and I managed to qualify for that, and it was the first year that it was at Dubai Mall on the ice rink and stuff.
Right.
So it was like a real big, 2 or 3 days.
I do sort of remember something like that. I remember the first year, and I do remember it being in the mall.
Yeah, and the second year there was just this influx of loads of CrossFit athletes, Annie Thorisdottir, Ryan Fisher, all those guys. So it just all of a sudden, I just qualified, 29th place out of 30, got myself in there. And it was an amazing experience, but through that, there was no CrossFit gym in Abu Dhabi at the time, and there was a couple of local lads in Dubai who wanted to set something up. They saw me there, found out I was in Abu Dhabi, and through that, I managed to secure a role with them. It was actually the first CrossFit gym in Abu Dhabi, which was
what was it called?
Code M CrossFit.
Okay, nice.
It's Improve now, Improve Fitness.
Is it still CrossFit or is it something else?
Still CrossFit now. They've got like Improve. They've obviously expanded. They've got like a bodybuilding side to it as well. So I did that for a year and a half, just loving life, and it was just like, I'm not ashamed to say it now. It was all about me at that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about where I was trying to grow it, but CrossFit was in this like twilight period where anybody who walked into the gym, you could charge what you wanted. I think we were charging like 1,600 dirhams a month, and it was just.
Back then that was a lot as well.
Yeah, like a lot of the locals coming in, and I didn't need to really do anything. Just be there to coach some classes. And I think back now, and I think about times where I would be like training in the middle of the day, and someone would come in to inquire, and if I've got 2 minutes left on an AMRAP, like you're gonna have to wait because I'm finishing that. And like I think now I'm like, it'd be complete opposite now. I'd throw everything to go and chat to someone. So I had a year and a half of that, and then an opportunity came up in Dubai working at Sands Fitness, so I decided to make the jump then.
So you're in Abu Dhabi doing CrossFit what year?
2014.
Okay, yeah. So I'd come over October 2013, and I totally get what you're saying when you're like, back then, because we worked for a gym. It wasn't a commercial gym, but it was an establishment that was down in the back of Jumeirah 1 by the back of downtown. So we had a lot of local guys coming in from that kind of Jumeirah area. So for me, that was just like culture change. It was the first time I was ever called a white guy as a joke by one of the Arab guys. He's like, "You white people." And I was like, "Who's me? Are you? Is that a thing? I don't know." Oh, okay. I see how this is going to go. But that was that like introduction to the UAE, the population, the people, the culture, and those guys were super cool. We were a bit more of just a strength and conditioning gym, just heavy stuff, but we didn't do the metabolic conditioning, high reps, complex exercises stuff. And then it was 2015, we left that job and set up the physical training company. So in that little brief window before, I want to say 2014, there was none of the big gyms. Sports City hadn't opened up, Fitness HQ, which is gone now, hadn't opened up, Train SF, none of those places had opened up. It was just, I think the original warehouse was there. Yeah. And then that might have been the main one that I can remember. I think there was a few other little smaller gyms dotted around the place, but there wasn't really a lot. No. And that's, like you said, people were just coming in, signing up all day and it was a real like little word of mouth thing. Because again, Instagram was not a big deal. It was still 2013, 2014. It was only 2015 when I realized, okay, we're doing our own thing now. I don't have a portfolio or anything online. I've just got an Instagram with cliffs and mountains. So now I need to set up a work thing. But it's mad how it's changed now, because then very quickly the big massive gyms opened up here.
Yeah, and they obviously, Fitness First was quite quick to get onto the CrossFit stuff as well. Like when I first moved over and I was doing my training, I was doing like the onboarding stuff, and Jules, one of the people there taking the onboarding stuff, invited us down for an XFit workout. And I was like, is that CrossFit? And we went to XFit, which was in Knowledge Village.
Do you know what? I remember a friend of mine. Do you know Cara at Base?
Yeah.
So we were friends way back. She sent me because she knew I was moving over, she sent me a job description for XFit Fitness First.
Yeah.
Specifically XFit. And I was like, well, I don't do CrossFit, not even, because my first intro to CrossFit was working with the military in the UK when those boys were doing it. And to me, I remember having a conversation with the guys. This is 2012. And I'm like, yeah, well, how do you periodize it? And he's like, mate, we just go da-da-da-da every day. And I'm like, yeah, but what's your goal? Like I'm not getting this. Yeah. This is flying straight past my head, because I was so just in that sports science world of like, you need to do this for 6 weeks, this for 6 weeks, this for 6 weeks, building up to your whatever the crap. So I couldn't get CrossFit, and the way he was explaining it to me was probably he wasn't communicating it very well to me either, and I was just like, I'm not into this. I'm not doing this.
It's still hard to explain now, right? When someone says to me, and like I've been in that industry, like the CrossFit world for years, someone's like, what's CrossFit? I'm like I can kind of explain it there or thereabouts, but it's still...
How would you try and explain it?
Well, I think the main thing to look at is like CrossFit is a brand at the end of the day. Like, people pay an affiliate fee, a license to be able to call themselves CrossFit. But the textbook way is high intensity functional movement. And it's Olympic weightlifting, clean and jerk, snatches, and then obviously regular weightlifting, deadlifts, back squats, those types of stuff. Gymnastics, so anything from an air squat, sit-ups, stuff on the rings, and then metabolic conditioning, which is running, rowing, cycling. And the idea behind it is that they work on those three domains and they group them together to form what they call a WOD, or workout of the day. And that's what the original was. It came from CrossFit HQ used to put out a workout on the website every day, and you would go on and it would be like 5 rounds for time, 400 meter run, 30 box jumps, 30 squats, and then you just go off and do it. And that was the workout. But then once CrossFit got bigger and gyms started opening up and offering classes, it was no longer good enough to just have, imagine paying X amount for a membership and going down and it's a 20-minute workout. Like, it just you wouldn't be able to run your business from that. So from that became a little bit more periodization around it. And you get people like myself coming from the sports performance background, tying in some maybe strength cycles and then finishing with the WOD and a little bit more theory behind it to pad out that hour-long class. But the original of CrossFit is like, come in and do your heaviest bench press for 5 reps, and that's your session for the day. Right. And they still put that stuff out, and they, a lot of people are still passionate about that. If you do a 5 rep max back squat properly, you don't need to do anything else. So then obviously it got more commercialized, and a big thing was that built it to what it is now is like the CrossFit Games stuff as well. And I know Greg Glassman, who stepped away, he was the founder of CrossFit. He kind of said about 4 or 5 years ago that he didn't want it to go that way. That was just something that got carried, because of the vanity and the booty shorts and that type of stuff. It grew that. But I think he said it got away from him a little bit.
I mean, look, it's definitely a super cool thing at that top level. You watch those documentaries on Netflix and it's just wildly impressive of how strong and how fit and how those guys can just continue to do the heavyweight technically proficiently after however many reps, after however many days of other workouts in the whatever tennis court they're in the States. But I remember that the CrossFit days were like, Annie was 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 crunches, 100 something else, and that was it.
Yeah.
Just finish it and then you're done. So we used to dabble with that a little bit as a conditioning thing. There was a bunch of names that the guys used to have, and it was a specific workout, a bunch of female names and specific workouts. But I think, like now, I joke with a lot of people because I used to be really anti-CrossFit because people were just coming to me having done CrossFit and having got hurt. And but now I think it's kind of found its place. People know enough about what it is to the right people get involved and the right people go down other avenues.
Yeah, I think what it did really well, and I'll come back to, because I did actually injure myself doing CrossFit, and that was one of the reasons that I kind of switched gears in terms of my own training and what I practice as well. But one of the things was, I forgot what I was going to say, so I'll go back to the injury.
Yeah.
So because I was doing CrossFit so much, just didn't do the stuff around it, the mobility and the stretching, and just I didn't look after my body. I was just going in and hammering it. And I had a little bit of hip pain, so shove a lacrosse ball in there, like that'll do the job, and it loosens it off, right? Any tissue that you can loosen off, it feels better. So now I've go for like a couple of years of not really getting stronger in any of my squats, and I was like, do you know what, there is something wrong with my hip there. So I went and got it checked out, and saw a few different people, and I did have like a small labral tear, and I had like FAI, like an impingement there, which is common for a lot of people. It's not always symptomatic, but for me it kind of was. So because I was so heavily involved in it, I'd seen a few people go for shoulder surgeries. I was like, cool, I'll just go and do surgery, and then we'll see what happens then. And being the UAE with like it's going to get paid for by your insurance, I went and had hip surgery, 26 years old. Didn't get any second opinions, just jumped straight in. Shaved down some of my hip bone.
Oh yeah. Glued
the labral tear. And the surgeon said to me before, he went, 50% it will improve, 30% or 40% it will be the same, maybe 60% it will improve, 30% it'll be the same, 10% it'll be worse. And I was like, there's no way it can get worse. And it got worse. Like, I had the surgery and it's been worse ever since then. So that was 26, so that was 7 years ago. And my hip's still not great now. And I think that there could have been something before that I could have maybe done before jumping into that surgery, or even just backing off the training. But, that's something that I look back on now, and, you take lessons from stuff. And I definitely see that fall from not trying to be as competitive because I wasn't able to keep up. That switched my mindset to being a little bit more business oriented then. And I was like, yeah, you know what, I want to grow my business now. So rather than spending all those hours training, I went and got a mentor and started working with, trying to learn a little bit more about sales and how to present myself and that type of stuff. And that's invaluable now I look back on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, you can get injured in your 20s doing loads of stuff. I know many people that have popped their shoulders. It's never been right since. I know a lot of the military guys in their early 20s were getting just, banged up just from just not being strong enough to do what they were doing. It was nothing to do with necessarily like CrossFit specifically, because they were doing CrossFit kind of workouts in their thing, but they were just overtraining, burning the candle at both ends, just being young, no concept of recovery, no concept of just lifting off the gas a little bit in this session. It was just go whenever they're in a exercise session. So I know I've got friends who, one guy was in his army training, he fell off a rope, grabbed onto the rope, dislocated his shoulder, ended up getting discharged. This is probably when he was in his very early 20s, maybe 20, 21. He got discharged from the Navy. And then by the time he's 28, he's playing professional rugby, because he fixed it.
Yeah.
But you're not getting back into the military. No. But he, just because he's young, he just got injured at the wrong time. And then he got himself sorted again.
I remember what I was going to say then about CrossFit. Last point on that was one thing it did do really well was that introduction to like strength training in a group environment. Pre-CrossFit, I can't really think of, I did some GX classes and stuff and, taught a few of those like body pump and things like that. But there wasn't a class that you could go to with 10 other people in the room and learn how to deadlift or back squat. True. There just wasn't really anything around. Like body pump was, as close as it got. So I think in regards to what you do down here and what I do, I think that was a little bit of a change in people were like, I'm going to go and learn how to lift properly, it was brilliant. I remember like doing a body pump class or, one of the fitness first body pump style classes, and the instructor telling me how to do a clean, and I was into my CrossFit and I was like, that's not a clean. Like they're like swinging the bar around. I'm like, no, the bar's got to stay close. He's like, no, this is a clean. I'm like, that's not a clean.
Yeah. I learned that stuff playing rugby with a broomstick. I remember in a school gymnasium. I still remember the day. I was just like, what are we doing? why am I doing this,
Yeah.
up and down with this broomstick? There was 20 of us in a room just doing this. But no, you're totally correct, I think, when you're saying that lots of the classes now, F45, what we do, unit, probably even OTF, come out of the popularity of CrossFit, because CrossFit is the high intensity, complex exercise, high skill. It's great if you're good at it. Like that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. You get people who, the right people for CrossFit, go and do it, and they love it, and it's perfect for them. It's competitive, it's community. They get to really test themselves, and they will stay stronger for longer into their 30s and 40s. But now people know what it is, whether it's the documentaries, whether it's people having got injured, like the early people who tried it and didn't like it, whatever, they come into the offices, they're telling people. So now there's all these other things like those companies, but also like the turf games, like High Rocks. These are fitness competitions that are just fitness. But it's now, people are so bought into, like High Rocks is exploding.
I know.
With popularity.
Absolutely huge.
Without CrossFit, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing turf games, whatever else they're called. You may have got your Spartan race kind of, but no, I think the whole fitness industry, CrossFit completely changed it. So now you've got something for everybody.
It was kind of nice at the time as well, like teaching people how to deadlift, because you actually saw value in those movements as well.
Yeah.
And the only way someone would really learn how to deadlift properly or back squat properly before was if they happened to come across like a powerlifting gym or a Olympic weightlifting gym, or they paid for personal training. Like personal training, you'll learn that 100%, but in that group environment, it captured that audience.
Yeah, when I was in St. Mary's in England in 2000s, and the weightlifting gym there was like something out of the 60s, but those boys in there were absolutely loving it. I'm sure that was 2008 to 2011. I'm sure all of those guys ended up doing CrossFit at some point. They're just so naturally strong at those movements. But how difficult is it to actually be a Olympian? So the spillover from that, where are you going to go? CrossFit. The gymnasts who don't make Olympics, where are you going to go? CrossFit. It swallows up that elite level. Rugby players who learned how to lift in their teens.
I also love that. I've seen it happen a lot of times as well. People who end up in a CrossFit environment who maybe don't do any training or haven't done training for a long time, and maybe they don't even know, but they're super strong. Maybe they've tried circuits and stuff. Maybe they're a little bit heavier. They don't enjoy that high impact stuff. Go into a CrossFit gym and the workout is like heavy deadlifts, and they crush everybody, and they're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. There's also a specific type of, here in the Middle East, so comparing to the UK, the military guys, military age, 19 to 23, very few of those guys, without teaching, could squat. In the sense where, that's where I saw squats go horribly wrong. We used to start every class, and this is in the rehab group, we used to start every class, 2 lines, everyone squat.
Yeah.
Facing each other. I need to see who can move and who can't. And people will be up on the balls, their feet dropping down, knees, you couldn't, and not just 1 or 2, but loads of the guys.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, whoa, right, this is what we're doing first. Teaching them squats, teaching them lunges just on the spot. But moved to the Middle East, started working with beginners. They have such better movement patterns. Yeah. They can squat way better. Even the 40-year-old small little office worker who's now finally got the confidence to step into a gym, he squats like a dream.
Yeah.
So put a bit of meat on those boys, I'm sure they would have been fine. So from your business then, how do you feel your business has evolved? When did you set up Movement Wins?
So I was in Sands Fitness, coaching there, head coach there for 3 years, and then I knew I wanted to do my own thing. I actually started doing a podcast there for the gym, and I was listening to loads of podcasts. I was like, I want to do my own podcast, but I want it to be my little thing. And there was a few things I was coming up with ideas, and I was getting to that point where every career that you're in, there's always got to be some progression, and coaching is no different, right? You get itchy feet, and I was there, and I kind of had it cushy, it was nice. Coaching a few hours a day, and earning enough at that time, but I knew that I needed something a little bit more, and I wanted to kind of brand myself. So I just decided to go out on my own, and when I left, it was primarily to go online. I was in that kind of time where online training was just picking up, and I was like, do you know what, I'll go and sit on a beach in Bali and, earn X amount and just chill and just write some programs. And the reality of that is, even now, is very hard to do. There's only a small percentage of people that can do that. So when I stepped away, I set up, I'd done all these courses, and I set up to go online, and, I had some business to begin with. And then I was like, I'll do some PT on the side to, tide me over. When I left the gym, I had my gratuity payment and stuff, paid for my trade license fee. It was great. I was like, cool, I'll go on holiday for 6 weeks. I got engaged, came back and I had no clients. I was like, what am I doing? And there's a bit of pressure from my wife, from my fiance at the time, like, what's going on? Like, I thought you had this all figured out. And I was like, I kind of do. So it's kind of a rough couple of years. But, I worked in, my friend at the time, she had a garage, gym set up. So I would train in there. I was like, do you mind if I just train a few people in here? She's like, yeah, no issues. And then one of the ladies who used to come and do group training, she said to me, will you train me in the group? And I was like, I can, but, it's not what I'm trying to do, but, come down. So she gave me 40 dirhams a session. I was like, if anybody else wants to come. And then before I knew it, I had 15, 16 ladies in Victory Heights coming down. But I was still not fully committed to my business then. I had my own business license, I'm on my own visa, bank account, everything set up, but I didn't fully invest in my business still. And so I ended up doing a bit of work back at Sands, just casually. Went and met Craig down at base and did a bit of work at base. And it was only when COVID happened that I had to go all in, because I didn't really have a choice then. It was all or nothing. It was, and by that time, I'd shown you some of the online stuff that we were doing as well, and there was an idea there and it was something worth growing, but it would have been a lot of investment, and it would have been tough to do, a tough market to crack.
Yeah, I think the idea you had it's such a simple, useful idea. I still tell the guys about it. Yeah,
and you guys have you promote a lot of that stuff, that consistency. And
so do you want to tell people just a little bit about what that idea was? Because I think if anybody's listening, not that too many people listen, but you had an idea of just a simple step leaderboard, kind of a couple of metrics, nothing wild and wacky, leaderboard from all wearables onto one display.
Yeah. Well, it was, I used to train a group at 5 a.m. in the morning at Sands. It's a group that I came up with and called it the Weight Loss Workshop. And it was, we would get people come into the CrossFit gym who, some of the guys were coming in with 140, 150 kg. And, they come in and we'd see them for a week and then they'd disappear. It wasn't really the environment. They've got someone who's got their shirt off next to them, and so I was like, hey guys, and I actually trained them for free to begin with. Come down 5 a.m. in the morning, and then we got a nice little group there. There was 6. There was 3 guys, 3 girls, and so I was training them, and then after a couple of weeks, the initial motivation would wear off like anything, and then some of the girls would be like, I can't train today because I've got to get in work early. I'm like, the whole point of it being 5 a.m. is that there's literally no excuse. But I was like, okay, I'm not that kind of tough coach to be call them out on it. So then I was like, all right, no worries, come in the evening and do your session. And I was like, how am I going to know if they've done their training? So then the heart rate monitor thing came up. I was like, I'll just give them a polar. I can see their data go up and down, that their heart rate's gone up and down. I can see how many calories they've burned. And then, from there, I can set targets. So based on your, what your goals are, what your current activity level is. And this is all stuff that I came up with. You should be burning, if in an average workout they were burning 300 calories in a session, I'd say, well, I want you to train 3 days this week, so your target is to hit 900 calories. In exercise, purposeful exercise, you put the heart rate monitor on, you press start on it, you do 30 minutes or 40 minutes of working out, and then the calories will come back. That will feed directly through to me. And then there was one instance where one of the girls had, she hadn't been all week, and I was like, there's no way she's going to hit her target. Woke up on a Monday morning, previously a Sunday morning, the start of the week. Saturday night, she'd been in the gym for 2.5 hours.
Just smashing it.
Yeah, it's not me promoting over training. Obviously not great, but she was like, hey coach, I hit my target. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean you hit your target? She did 2.5 hours in the gym because she felt that bad and she was so motivated about just having that target. Yeah. If I just told her at the start of the week, you need to exercise 3 times, it would have just wouldn't have gone anywhere. So that kind of snowballed into other stuff as well. And then it was just about setting that calorie target. Step target was something that we wanted to build in as well. But we got the plugins and stuff and built this kind of web-based app, and it's just so competitive though, with the other stuff that's going on as well, Apple and
I mean, God, I kind of, I know I contacted you maybe about a year or 18 months ago to see if it was still a thing for you guys, because we were in a better place to kind of look back into it again. But
and every time I speak to you, I'm like, oh, maybe there's something there.
See, I wonder now, has the cost of it gone down because there's whatever these ChatGPT codings, there's such a competitive market, it's easier to make an app. Because what I really liked about yours was it was so simple. It was just a few metrics, and then it popped up on a leaderboard.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, and if you tip this option, you get all your workouts are here. If you tip this option at the bottom, you get all your nutrition stuff. It was none of that.
Yeah.
It was just, it's a few things, like kind of like what an old school app used to be. A couple of metrics, boom, this is it. That's all we need to do. That's all we need to talk about. After that, all the other conversations happen elsewhere. But on this app, it's just displaying whatever the steps, the heart rate, the calories. And it creates a leaderboard. That was what I really liked.
Yeah.
It's a simple little leaderboard.
Love
it.
People don't even want to win. They just don't want to be bottom.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
That's what it came
Interesting.
down to.
Because that's you can have community fun with that. You know, all right, punish. If you're a bottom today, you can have a bit of fun with it. It's not a, a Premier League.
Kind of like, there was we never really came up with like a full business model behind it. And one of the things, we thought scale straight away. We're like, this is massively scalable. I was onboarding people and we just did it. There was no charge because I enjoyed doing it, and it was just literally just accountability. But then, we went through a period of time of like getting people on who had heard it from a friend of a friend, and they contacted me, I added them in, but they had no affiliation to me. So then when it came to because I wanted there to be some accountability there, if someone hadn't done any exercise for 2 weeks, it felt a bit like dirty, like messaging them, be like, hey, I haven't done any exercise, I know nothing about this person, like something could have happened, or and it just, so then and when we spoke about it before, if there was that point in between, like people, like you're using the application but it's affiliated to you, then that's the accountability that you need, and then maybe there's the external accountability elsewhere. But there's something there, that psyche.
I think there is something there, and I think it's a very simple thing for you to one day just pitch it to like a Glowfox or a MindBody or one of these apps and go, right, we're here, we've built a bunch of thousands of users, just buy us out. Just have it integrated into your app. We just want to, so I just want to go back to Bali and sit down there doing programs, because it's just so simple. It's so small. And now I think some of the APIs are much more open to communicating with these apps.
And what I loved about it, the simplicity of it, was that I didn't care what you did. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, would I rather you go and do like a strength training session than, just do endless cardio? Yeah, like I'd like there to be a balance, but I didn't dig into it that deep. I was like, I just need to know that you've gone and done some exercise.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
That's what I liked. I liked it. It was so simple. It wasn't like you weren't getting bogged in, and then we can go deeper here, and then we can take you to this page, and then I can sell you these things, and then you can. It was just like, no, let's just monitor your steps, your calories, whatever, your heart rate. I can't remember what else, but I was like, and then the leaderboard was the bit where I was like, that's so simple, so easy for everybody to get their head around. It's not massively invasive. But the thing would be, if you had people signing up, you could build out like a push notification where the app contacts going, hey, you haven't done anything in a week. Like Duolingo messages me all the time saying your Spanish is falling behind. And I'm like, I appreciate it. It's a robot. I know what it's doing, but it is. I did make that agreement with myself that I would get involved in this and I would get better at it.
That's true.
And I'm not doing it. But yeah, I think maybe if you ever do revisit that or research it, let us know, because I definitely think there's a future in it. We have people coming in with the heart rate monitor stuff, and it's just too much. It's a bit clunky. It's on the display. That changes things. People need to sync with this. Yeah. But if it's just at the end of the day, it goes to a server or a database, and that just organizes it and pops it up.
Yeah, and there's no like I said, people just don't want to finish last. There's no like prize money for you're not trying to. Yeah. There's no, because every heart rate monitor would track calories slightly differently, so you need to understand there might be a discrepancy in calories. People's targets will be different based on how active they are. Like my target would be if I'm in the gym all day and I can train 6 or 7 hours a week versus someone who can train 2 or 3 hours a week. That target is different, and that's what's specified in the beginning. I
think as well, smaller gyms like us, we don't really want to pay a massive licensing fee to MyZone and have all that. Yeah. Like, now we need to make this much revenue at the end of the year. I don't know how you'd make it work. But well, I think we had this chat after COVID, was it?
Yeah.
We first spoke about it because during COVID, one of the things that really got me motivated, I was in Ireland for the whole time. So I'm 3-4 hours behind time-wise. And one of our old coaches he made an Instagram group. So this is the only time I've ever been in like a WhatsApp group, but an Instagram group. And everybody would share, they'd do his workout that day and they'd share it. And that, just seeing everybody on the group posting their screenshot or whatever, their little time lapse of them doing their dips off their kitchen chair.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, I need to do it now. Like, I just need to, they're all doing it. I need to. And that really, I'd say 20% of the workouts I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I only did because the gang in the time zone ahead of me was doing. So like 9 p.m. sometimes I was like, all right, let me carve out 25 minutes to do these dips and burpees and push-ups, whatever else I could do in my living room. And then that made me realize, right, there is such a value in just that little, like, one central spot where you're seeing what other people are doing and you're going, if they're doing it, I'll do it. I don't need to win. I just need to tick this box and then ultimately feel a bit better about myself. And by the end of the day, I feel better. By the end of the week, I feel better.
There's levels to it as well. And, like, the further I got into, the value of strength training and things like that, and there was something like me as a coach was like, I've told you what the magic was, just getting someone moving. But then it felt a little bit like not aligned because I was like, I don't want, if two women are coming up to me and going, I only burn 210 calories. And I'm like, but you've just done an hour of like strength training. Like, that's an amazing workout. They're like, oh no, but if I did cardio, I would have burnt 400. I'm like, so the messaging needs to be there as well. But
that's the secondary conversation though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now that's where some people who build these apps, they have, like, it's built in. The app will give you your review. The app will give you where to go next. The app will take you on your journey. You never have to speak to a human again. Like, forget all that.
Yeah.
Just get some simple data and then we can just talk about it. Because most of the people who are into the heavy data, they're using Training Peaks, they're using whatever else they're using. They're down there already. They're working hard. But for people who just, like, and what we see in our profession is the people who are health orientated. So we're already seeing the people that are predisposed to some level of self-awareness and health awareness.
yeah,
There's probably 5-10 times that amount of people in the world who have no idea.
yeah,
They're never gonna speak to us. They're intimidated. They're not bothered. They're not into it. They're too busy for whatever thousand incredible reasons. But something simple for them to take a step. I've did 10,000 steps, really? Like, I had somebody tell me, I can't remember now, I won't be able to think. I had somebody tell me they just learned something so basic. And I was like, oh, shit, you didn't even know that?
yeah.
You didn't even, okay, wow. Well, I wish I could remember now. But it's very recently, and I thought, whoa, you didn't even know that? Okay.
And that's just exercise. That's not even going into nutrition, right?
Yeah.
And nutrition is even more confusing at times.
Oh, yeah. I think it might have been like, I can't remember. Oh, well, it'll waste time trying to think about it. But I've had conversations with people, another example would be like, they didn't know The Rock was on steroids.
Yeah.
It's like, are you, really? You thought you thought you and him were the same?
Yeah.
You thought you and him were like he just goes 7 times a week and you don't?
Yeah.
Come on, mate. You're nothing like that guy. He's on everything and he's taking the best quality stuff with the best science behind it. Like all those top athletes that look massive wrestlers and stuff are. But I do think there's a little bit of a future in that. Keep it small, keep it simple. A couple of years, get bought out by somebody.
But so from that, then we were still in the background, but then I went back into the in-person training, like all in. I was like, nah, right, let's get back into it. I love it. Like, I really enjoy the in-person style of it, and managed to find a little space close to me.
You're in the ICC.
In the ICC, like,
that's perfect.
Space, perfect. It's fairly close to a lot of people.
It's got an outdoor section as well, so half the year you're loving it.
Yeah, so in the winter months, we go outside and it's nice, and then it's a little bit cramped in the summer, but we make it work, and we've got a nice little group down there. So yeah, it's gone straight back in, and just we're not trying to be someone we're not. Like, we have a certain type of clientele that enjoy our training, and there's been times where I might have strayed off a little bit back towards like the CrossFit style of training. I'm like, this is who I want to attract. I want someone to feel that I want it to be as unintimidating as possible.
I think I see your stuff, and I think you're very much like what we do. That's why like I do look at your stuff. I do watch your stuff. You have a guy, Harry, working for you. Is that right?
Danny.
Was there You've got two guys?
Danny and Patrick, yeah.
I think I definitely follow them anyway. I thought it was Harry. Because I like exactly what you do. I'm like, you guys have the right, very similar attitude to what we have.
Yeah, and you know, we've had one of the girls who trained with me in the beginning in the garage days. When it came down to, you know, over lockdown, she was looking for somewhere to train. And I hadn't set up my little bit yet. And she would have been like one of my core members. You know, I sent her up to Sands because she'd hit this level where she, you know, she'd lost a lot of weight. She managed to get her first pull up, that type of stuff. And I was like, I could see it in her. She was at a level where she needed that push. She's like competing in CrossFit, doing absolutely awesome, amazing now. And, you know, for me, like that, I feel proud that I was able to get her to a level that she was able to do that. And she wanted to go off and do that now. And, you know, she looks incredible. She's doing amazing things. But if I'd had to try and hold on to her, what I would have done is stretch the kind of niche that we work with. We would have kept stretching it. You know, even things like programming workouts, I would have been thinking about her versus I want to think about the person who's maybe coming in for the first time.
Interesting.
You know, that market there.
Yeah, we definitely have had a few people who, one guy lost a lot of weight with us a long time ago, and now I see him doing high rocks and everything. I'm like, brilliant. At some point, the physiology doesn't just kind of peak out of what we're doing. If you're doing it for long enough, you have to change, but also just the environment. You know, you need a bit of a mental change. Yeah. Like I've had loads of clients where I'm like, we're now going on 2 or 3 years. At some point, you're gonna have the thoughts of, you know, I might try this thing. I'm like, don't hide it from me. Yeah. Just say it's. I get it. I've been in this long enough.
But it's worked the other way around probably more, where people who my acquaintances who I've known from the CrossFit days, you know, like for injuries and just overtraining and not wanting to do that intensity, they come and find me and be like, this is great. You know, we've taken maybe 5 or 6 members who maybe trained with me previously who have come down and done it. So it kind of works both ways as well. Like they don't want the intensity anymore, but they value the, you know, the coaching. Exactly,
and that is you're tapping into like that little a bit of an abundance mindset where like there's enough to go around. Yeah. You do what you want to do.
100%.
I'll have more coming in this door. I'll have more coming over here. You whatever you want to do, you decide. Everyone is kind of self-select. As long as you're doing a good job, you got good quality, you're welcoming, you're a nice person. All those fundamental boxes ticked. People appreciate that, and they might go off for 2 years, and then they come back, and you're like, totally welcome to come back.
When I went on, did a bit of mentoring, I was with Andy Harper, who owned Iconic Fitness before, CrossFit Duo, and he was the first one that said that to me, because he kept giving me all these like nuggets of information. It wasn't even an official like mentorship then, it was just going for coffee because I was friends with him, and he kept giving me all these like nuggets of information. And man, I was thinking like, why is he telling me this stuff? And you know, he said to me, he's like, we're not competing against each other. There's enough people out there. Yeah. He was in the marina at the time. I was in Motor City. He was like, cool, let's help as many people as we can. And that's something that stuck with me the whole time. So even when there's, you know, a gym right next door, or, you know, a gym in the same area, or you guys, like, there's no competition. Yeah. Like, it's, you know, we're all in the industry of helping people. So
there's 1,000 reasons why somebody would move between gyms. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because they did a better job and they did a bad job. There's whatever, just job. Yeah. Easiness, catchment area, whatever, you know, who knows? But it's just like, look, you let people be free, let people self-select what they want to do. If you do a good job, you should be able to just cover what you need. So now you're at the ICC. What kind of plans as Movement wins? Like you said, it's not quite where you want it to be. Actually, you know, talk to me a little bit. You said you hadn't committed to your business at that time before COVID. Like, what were you thinking? What was on your mind there?
Well, I was still, the online piece was still like festering. I was putting some effort and time into that. And I didn't have like a group class other than the garage, which would only run 1 class a day and, you know, 7 or 8 people at a time. So I was still coaching part-time at base, you know, did a bit at Sands as well. So I was still going out and doing different things. And then when COVID happened, you know, everything had to change, people's business models and stuff. So, you know, I left base and I was like, right, what do I do now? Because I knew I had something there, but then that was like, right. And, you know, with my wife as well, it's like, right, let's go and find a space. And I'd known about the ICC for years because we'd done work down there with Sands before. And I was like, let's go in there and try and make it work. And, you know, and obviously, Are You Active, all of those guys down there as well. Like, must have been a bit of a shock because it was like it's a nice private little space. And I kind of came down and, you know, with my group, but we've got a great relationship with them. They refer people over to us.
So before them, the cricket used to run it.
Yeah.
We met the cricket guy and he gave us this extortionate price.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, can't do that, sorry. And we were massively disappointed. We had loads of stuff kind of moving. So then and we knew that one of his employees, so 6 months later, they called us back in. All right, guys, didn't work out the last time. They offered us the same price.
Yeah.
And we were like, why did you even bring us here?
Yeah.
Like, we can't afford this. Out of there, we were gone. But I think RU Active took it over. I think that guy left and some other things changed in the cricket. Because the ICC is the International Cricket Centre or whatever.
Academy,
whatever it is. But they were really ruining that place, those cricket guys.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say it because I don't know where the guy's now. He's totally gone. He's left Dubai. But we were so let down by it. We thought, okay, great, because it's a lovely spot.
Yeah.
It's loads of parking.
Fully equipped.
It's perfect for small group stuff. And then he offers the exact same price. When we were looking at it going, this is the same that we said no to. Why are we here? Why did you do this?
Yeah. And I think for me, like, I was obviously in a position where I kind of had to do something, and I knew I had enough people to kind of get it going. And it was tough the first couple of years, and like, there's still things that aren't brilliant right now, but in terms of like the location and the space that we've got, we run really really good classes down there. So yeah, just enjoying that space at the moment.
We ended up going out onto the grass at the top of the athletics track.
Yeah.
For I think it must have just been for a winter, and then when the summer came, we packed it up. But the location there is great, and I think there was only Fit Republic there at the time.
Yeah.
And that's where CrossFit Sands is, isn't it? Just around the corner.
In Motor City, yeah.
Yeah, across the junction, yeah.
But in Motor City, there's about 10 different gyms now.
There's loads now, yeah. Fitness First and Gymnation in the same building.
Yeah.
Just advertising right beside each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, like you said earlier, there is enough people out there. There's enough to go around. People just need to know about you.
Yeah.
They need to know about it, and however way you can get people to know, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's hardcore advertising, marketing. And then once they walk in the door, you just got to make a good impression and have them trust that, you know, that this is the right place for them. So what's next then for Movement Wins?
No big plans right now. Just kind of happy with what we're doing. We've got Danny, who's just come on coaching with us as well. So we've got Danny and Patrick there, both helping them to build their business within Movement Wins as well, and they're doing really well. Dubai is a tough one because through no fault of your own or what you're doing, like, it's transient place, like people leave.
Yeah.
So you've always got to kind of prepare yourself. Every year there's going to be a bit of churn in terms of people leaving.
They also move jobs and move house apartments so much, whereas in the UK or in Ireland, where your gym is mortgages on those houses for 20 years.
So then it's just a case of, and this is what I said at the start, like my role's changed a little bit in terms of like trying to generate leads, and that's not in like a salesy trying to get as much business as we can. That's just like something that needs to be done because you need to get your name out there because people are going to leave. So it's just keeping that filter going.
You also have a responsibility to the boys.
Yeah.
That you're putting a shift in on their behalf to build their business.
And they're very similar to me, right? Like, and you know, when I've sat down and had coffee with them before they've come on, very similar values to me, the way they coach, you know, the way that they are. So I see that they're, you know, similar to me. It took a bit of time for me to build my business as well, and they're doing all the right things. They're chatting to people, they're helping people, they care, they're good at what they do. So it's just a case of, you know, trying to get as many people in as we can now.
Are you still doing your podcast?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Right. I love doing the podcast. It's super fun. Like, even what we're doing now, just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah.
And you know, promotes a little bit of content. And I was telling you before that one of the guys who I've started training in the last 6 months, he's listening from number one, and he keeps, you know, because number one was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he keeps like chatting to me about stuff that I said maybe like 3.5 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know if that's actually true. So we need to be careful.
I'm the same. We started ours. It must have been 2016 in an old villa I used to live in, and then we got in early doors actually with MeFit Pro and one of these massive fitness competitions. So somewhere around episode 20 or 30 or 40, got Ronnie Coleman and these guys. And
I remember listening to you.
It looks lovely before. on the what you call it, on the back catalogue.
Yeah.
But it's like nowadays I'm just like, look, there's people I want to talk to, and then there's just times where there's nobody really. Whereas back then I was like, let's do a podcast, let's push it, And then COVID came, everybody set up a podcast, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do a podcast anymore. Everyone's got a podcast.
Yeah.
But now it's like I said, it's just, Destiny's here now to help us. So it makes life a lot easier. But now it's chatting shit, who I want to speak to, catch up with people.
Yeah.
Any excuse to waste time and have a coffee. So where can people get in touch with you or follow you, listen to your podcast?
Probably best is on Instagram, Movement Wins. Website's all linked in there as well. My coach Joff as well on Instagram.
And what's your podcast?
Coffee with Joffy.
Lovely.
It was Coffee with Joffy, and then I changed it. I was trying to be, I don't know what I was thinking. I tried to make it more professional in the Movement Wins podcast, and then I was like, it doesn't have the same ring to it. So
it's back to Coffee with Joffy.
Coffee with Joffy.
Search for Coffee with Joffy. I'm back there somewhere.
Have you done three? Two or three?
Maybe two, maybe three. Definitely two. One with Craig as well. So we'll get Craig on here as well. We'll get another little round table.
Yeah.
But cool. Thanks for coming down, bud.
Yeah, thanks very much.
We'll catch up with you again soon.